Iran replied to an Israeli illegal attack by bombing Israel. Okay, it's easy to condemn Iran, as you have done time and time again. But over the last years, Israel has bombed, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Yemen. Of course, Palestine is illegally occupying Palestine, parts of Syria, illegally occupying parts of Lebanon. Are you able to condemn this? Or do you say, no, I fully stand with Israeli violations of international law? Do you have these double standards, or do you adhere to international law?
Please.
Madam President, what was it? 1, 2, 3 hours ago, Thomas Tobé, on behalf of the EPP, was talking about the victims of communism. The only difference between us is that we never make difference between victims and victims. It should not be controversial to assert that killing, starving, mutilating, and slaughtering children constitute a clear violation of international law. That is what is happening right now in Gaza, what the far-right government of Israel is doing against the children of Gaza. Make no mistake, history will judge each person that refused to act to end the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Hate is not the opposite of peace, apathy is. Apathy equals complicity. Those who don't want to be complicit to the genocide on the Palestinian people must demand suspension of the EU-Israeli Association Agreement now.
Madam President, Minister, Commissioner and colleagues, yesterday we bore witness to the very grotesque image of Benjamin Netanyahu presenting Donald Trump with his nomination papers for the Nobel Peace Prize. The words that come to mind are beyond parody, beyond ridicule, perversity, incomprehensible. Because on the same day, Israel Katz, the Minister for Defense, proposes that to move Gazans to an enclosed area in Rafah, perhaps satirically referred to as humanitarian city. George Orwell could not have invented this kind of language. Described as well by Israeli academics and lawyers as, I quote, a blueprint for crimes against humanity, close quote. Eventually, all Gazans will have to go there. Even the professor of Jewish history at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Amos Goldberg, said the plan was for, and I quote, the creation of a concentration camp or a transit camp for Palestinians before they expel them. I think the one thing that we can agree on in this divided House is that the Nobel Committee in Oslo will not dwell too long in those nomination papers. Thank you.
We're now at a point where gunning down hungry people as they desperately try to get aid is a daily occurrence. There was international shock the first time, but just like with the bombing of the first hospital, when there are no consequences for Israel, they are emboldened and they carry on. 700 Palestinians have now been slaughtered at aid sites. Baby formula is blocked. They are literally starving babies to death, and still the EU does not act. In fact, instead of holding Israel to account, President von der Leyen has Netanyahu, a war criminal, on speed dial, and she's actively encouraging to carry out illegal strikes on Iran. There is more outrage from EU leaders about artists calling out a genocide than there is against those who are actually carrying out that genocide. Solidarity with Palestine is being criminalised, and the EU is sacrificing its civil liberties to support Israel. But Palestinian solidarity grows stronger every day. The people won't be silenced. The people are demanding suspension of trade with Israel. The people are demanding sanctions against Israel. The people are demanding an end to their complicity with Israel's war crime and its genocide, and they are demanding that their EU leaders act and listen to them.
Minister, Commissioner, colleagues, the European Union stands at a crossroad. The recent reports confirms what we can no longer ignore: grave violations of human rights by Israel, including attacks on hospitals, the blockade of humanitarian aid, and forced displacement. Over 17,000 children have been killed in Gaza, according to UNICEF today. There is no doubt, colleagues, these acts breach Article 2 of the EU-Israel Association Agreement, and international courts have spoken. So if we fail to act now, we not only undermine our own laws, we erodate our global credibility. Therefore, I call for the immediate suspension of the association agreement. No trade, no cooperation, no impunity. This until the international law is upheld. Let us prove that our values are not for negotiation. And colleagues, if this is not happening, maybe we really should give a strong signal and not vote for the discharge of the Council in October. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President. So before our eyes, we see a European policy which seems to be characterized by this Chamberlain syndrome. In other words, one of appeasement and nothing else. Moral verticality as concerns Russia, with Trump, Al-Sisi, Ayahu, Netanyahu, and so on and so forth. It's the only European policy that we have without any proper principles in place. Here we are sitting like an ostrich, like a turkey almost, just looking at Putin, and we see a situation which is totally unacceptable and catastrophe as far as foreign policy. Israel is a good example. The system of protecting human rights supposedly is resulting in destruction. It is resulting in humanitarian catastrophe and nothing less than that. It is creating hunger, destruction of schools, and this is the American policy which is in place right now. Now the question is not the agreement that we have with Israel. The question is, how can we sit by and watch young people, children, women, men dying? How are we going to deal with this situation? Like Chamberlain did or like Churchill did in the past?
Thank you. Mr. Botenga is next.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioner, Minister. You would have read the same headlines as me. Israel wants to have 600,000 Palestinians moved to a camp in Gaza. It's like 3 times the size of Charleroi, 3 times the size of Liège in a camp. The ultimate objective, in the Israelis' words themselves, is to actually expel these immigrants, these Palestinians, from the Gaza Strip. Israel is now reopening the worst pages of European colonial history. Let us not forget, well before the horrors of the Second World War, colonial Spain had already established concentration camps in Cuba with hundreds of thousands of people dying from poverty and famine and illness. The UK had them in South Africa, the Germans in Namibia, and the French as well. So it's a concentration camp, and if that doesn't shake your support for Israel, then that is unacceptable. In the meantime, we've been fighting for human rights. We've been fighting against colonialism. But you stay faithful as partners to Israel, in fact, privileged partnerships that some of you continue to defend. That's unacceptable today. Let us sanction Israel urgently.
Dankeschön.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Blaha.
Vážení kolegovia, s úctou hľadím na velikánov židovského pôvodu od Karla Marxa cez Rozu Luxemburgovú až po...
So when looks at the Jewish heritage of Karl Marx and Rosa Luxemburg, put that aside, and we have to make it quite clear that Israel is a country which is going to have to be dealt with in a very, very, very stiff fashion. Israel is conducting genocide right now. Children, women are being killed. Over the last 6 months, it's been clear what's been going on in Palestine. A record number of people have been killed in a very, very short period of time. And Washington is helping out. And von der Leyen seems to show as well even understanding for all of this, what's going on, what Israel is doing. But we have to say quite clearly that Rome, Berlin, and Tokyo were the axis of evil during the Second World War. Here we have a new axis between Washington, Tel Aviv, and it's quite clear that what we're seeing right now is the genocide of the 21st century. There are sanctions against Russia, but with regard to the Israelis, nothing is being said, not a single word. Nothing has been done.
Mr. Bulgaria.
Madam Commissioner, em dezembro, o enviado da Comissão.
In December, the peace envoy said, don't be surprised if we see an increase in tourism over the next few years. The Europol report said that there will be a security impact on the EU because of what's happening in Gaza. Europe is not looking to the Middle East, but the Middle East is looking to Europe. The tragedy in Gaza is a tragedy for those who are present in Gaza, and it is a tragedy for anyone who turns a blind eye to this. Respect for human rights is an essential element in the EU-Israel agreement. Firing on people who are seeking humanitarian assistance undermines, indeed violates that agreement blatantly. And those deaths may well end up being considered war crimes. Any assessment of any agreement will be incomplete if it does not take account of that fact. We should rectify that.
By colleague Oliveira.
I do.
Please.
Obrigado, Presidente.
Thank you. Mr.